Thank you for joining us. In this episode of Occult Unmasked, I'm going to talk about an obscure David Bowie song that came out in 2013 on the album The Next Day. I'm a huge fan of David Bowie, so I purchased the rarest version of this album that exists. It's a great double album that David Bowie left us in 2013 on his birthday. And this is what it looks like. The red version. Very rare, extremely rare. Only 1,000 of these exist. I collect rare, limited, and colored vinyls, especially if the first pressings, because the first pressings are going to sound better than the 5,000th pressing, for example. There's going to be a lot of controversial stuff in this episode concerning demons. If you don't believe in demons, this isn't the video for you, because this video is going to talk about demonic entities, invisible negative entities that may or may not have contacted David Bowie, even if just subliminally. Everyone knows about the old mythology of the angels and devils whispering into your ear. An angel on one shoulder and a demon on the other whispering into your ear. For those that don't believe in such fantastical stories, consider for a second, what if a negative entity was whispering into your ear, but your spiritual ear? So your physical ear couldn't hear it, but your subconscious could hear it. There's no way to prove whether that entity is there. It most definitely could inspire you to write a song. I believe it has happened multiple times, especially to extremely famous and successful musicians. Perhaps they didn't originally start that way, and perhaps they never did again. But in this case, the most occult song on The Next Day, this includes Black Star. Black Star is clearly an extremely occult sounding song, but If You Can See Me off of The Next Day, my opinion, is one of David Bowie's most demonic songs he's ever written, or was inspired, even if just subliminally through his unconscious, from an entity whispering some lyrics into his ear, with or without him knowing, because the lyrics are extremely demonic from the perspective of Aleister Crowley, for example. He sought to communicate with a demon his whole life. He was successful eventually. When he went to Egypt, his wife became possessed temporarily and told him that he would be visited by an entity and he would write out what it told him. Aleister Crowley, in the hotel room, waited for the entity to show up, and out of the corner of the room, the entity spoke the words of Aleister Crowley's most famous book, the Book of the Law. That book, admittedly, Crowley admits that he didn't necessarily channel the book. He wrote what he heard an invisible entity in the corner of his hotel room tell him to write down. I believe it was 3 days in a row. This invisible entity spoke to Aleister Crowley. Corners of rooms, something I've talked about before. Demons hang out in corners of rooms. Corners of rooms are considered the crossroads in Haitian Vodun, and I personally consider them the crossroads, not a physical crossroads, but a spiritual crossroads, where these higher, perhaps fifth dimensional entities enter our dimension. Why do they choose corners? Don't ask me, but even feng shui talks about positive and negative corners of every room. Very interesting. I'm going to have to do an entire episode on corners of rooms because it's that important concerning demonic activity. But David Bowie's song, If You Can See Me, is over the top, very demonic from the perspective of anyone who has read multiple occult books, such as myself. I'm an anti-occultist. I seek to expose this type of thing. Aleister Crowley's Book of the Law, the language is very flowery, it's very poetic, and some people consider it Crowley's poetry book. But if you read it, it's really dark and gruesome and grim poetry very evil, very anti-human. And the reason that is because he was written by a demon. Aleister Crowley heard a voice come from the corner of his hotel room. He wrote down what it said. It actually had a British accent, he said, which the whole point of that was to confuse him to thinking it was coming from his own mind. It wasn't coming from his own mind. It was coming from a literal, actual demonic entity, probably in a higher dimension, slightly higher, like the fifth dimension. If you were walking around in the fifth dimension, people in the third/fourth dimension, which is us, wouldn't be able to see you. It's like the Invisible Man. There is an obscure version of the Invisible Man where he is blown into another dimension, or halfway into another dimension. The Invisible Man can manipulate objects because he's halfway. Perhaps he's in the 4.5th dimension. Something crazy like that. These negative entities, they most definitely exist. I'm beyond wondering whether or not demons exist or not. I know for 100% personal fact they do exist. I know I sound crazy. I know. I already know. I've told a handful of people in real life. Strangely enough, when I tell the stories, they get creeped out because sometimes a negative presence even confirms what I'm talking about to the person. And so that's the closest thing to proof I can ever provide, is sometimes a creepy vibe will connect itself with this story because the story's true, but this is not about that. This is about the lyrics in David Bowie's If You Can See Me. Let's go through the lyrics right now. If You Can See Me, lyrics by David Bowie. If you can see me, I can see you. I could wear your new blue shoes, I should wear your old red dress, and walk to the crossroads, so take this knife and meet me across the river. Just chutes and ladders, and this is the kiss, American and a fantastical station, from nowhere to nothing, and I go way back. Children swarm like thousands of bugs, towards the lights, the beacons above the hill, the stars to the west, the south, the north, and to the east. Now you could say I've got a gift of sorts, a fear of rear windows and swinging doors, a love of violence, a dread of size. If you can see me, I can see you. If you can see me, I can see you. I have seen these bears wave their fists at God, swear to destroy the beasts, stamping the ground in their excitement for tomorrow. I could wear your new blue shoes, I should wear your old red dress, and walk to the crossroads, so take this knife and meet me across the river. I will take your lands and all that lays beneath, the dust of cold flowers, prison of dark ashes. I will slaughter your kind who descend from belief. I am the spirit of greed, a lord of theft. I'll burn all your books and the problems they make. If you can see me, I can see you. If you can see me. So I came up with an interpretation of this song back on April 5th, 2013. I posted it on songmeanings.com. I posted it under a pseudonym, Mortal, and this is my analysis from back April 5th, 2013, shortly after the album came out. This song is about a demon, a literal spiritual entity viewing mankind and speaking its violent mind. If you can see me, I can see you. Demons are known to watch everyone at all times. If you think it's only angels watching you, they rarely, if ever, manifest themselves, but if they do, you can know they've been watching you your whole life. I could wear your new blue shoes, I should wear your old red dress, and walk to the crossroads, so take this knife and meet me across the river. This string of lines is symbolic more than anything. It's an opener to the twisted mind of the demon, setting the mood to murder. Just to add to that, I would say specifically crossroads is a spiritual term in Vodun and many black magic rituals. Crossroads refers to a place where a spirit can cross into our world or where we can cross into their world. And so that's a direct reference to spirits. Just chutes and ladders, and this is the kiss, American and a fantastical station, from nowhere to nothing, and I go way back. This is just a game to the demon. I go way back as a clue to it being a timeless entity who is here from the beginning. To add to that, "This is the kiss" is an extremely obvious nod to Judas, who betrayed Jesus with a kiss. There is literally no other interpretation of that. It's the demon admitting it's a demon and using Judas's betraying kiss to Jesus as an example of admitting it's a demon. Children swarm like thousands of bugs toward the lights, the beacons above the hill, the stars to the west, the south, the north, and to the east. How this being sees humans: bugs swarming to light. Now, more specifically, it sees humans nothing more than bugs. From this timeless entity's perspective, this entity may be 1,000,000 years old, 1,000,000,000 years old, who knows? It sees the lifespan of a human as nothing more than a moth, and it even considers humans moths going toward a light. Specifically, when it says the stars to the west, the south, the north, and to the east, it leaves east at the end. And I believe it does so because it's pretty obvious east is very symbolic with Christianity, and Jesus will come from the east at his second coming, according to Christianity. And so this entity is either distancing itself from the east, or at least recognizing the east as being different from the others. Now, you could say I've got a gift of sorts, a fear of rear windows and swinging doors, a love of violence and dread of size. The demon's gift is a love of violence and dread of size. Or perhaps that is David Bowie's. Now, David Bowie is going to be interwoven in this. I would say the most David Bowie line in the whole song is, "I could wear your new blue shoes, I should wear your old red dress." That seems like Bowie, as he has mentioned, the "put on your red shoes and dance the blues" on his famous hit Let's Dance. So the duality, the blue and red and blue, clothing, dress, shoes, he's used that in previous songs. So it's kind of a theme that he uses. So if anything is his words, I would believe it's that, and then possibly the fear of rear windows and swinging doors. Obviously, a demon's not going to be afraid of a physical object like that. If you can see me, I can see you. If you can see me, I can see you. Usually invisible to our dimension, this demon brags that we can never see it, unless it happens to manifest itself. It's the real key to the song. It all relates to the watching, the seeing, the all-seeing eye, which is seen in many places of pop culture, from Eye of Mordor to the back of the dollar bill, supposed Illuminati pyramid eye, the Eye of Horus, etc. It's a favorite piece of symbolism to the demonic watchers. I have seen these bears wave their fists at God, swear to destroy the beasts, stamping the ground in their excitement for tomorrow. This sounds like, this being has seen it all, including barbaric men wave their fists at God, swear to destroy the beasts, stamping the ground in their excitement for tomorrow. Perhaps making fun of the fact that these humans feel invincible and immortal, and has seen humans act invincible, act immortal, like they can do anything, and then bam, they're dead in the span of a moth's life. A few seconds, a few days, a few weeks, from the perspective of this entity. I will take your lands and all it lays beneath, the dust of cold flowers, prison of dark ashes. I will slaughter your kind who descend from belief. I am the spirit of greed, a lord of theft. I'll burn all your books and the problems they make. This is the final end statement from the demon. Even the voice is reverse echoed in the song. These lines add a demonic feel to them. Like all demons, it only seeks to have a voice and attempt to display its wisdom and hatred for humans. I will slaughter your kind who descend from belief. It will destroy anyone who falls away from the faith, or from their belief in God, for example. A standard procedure for demons. I am the spirit of greed, a lord of theft, a proclamation of the demon's expertise, greed and theft. In ancient grimoires, books concerning the attributes of specific demons, medieval texts such as the Key of Solomon, it does categorize and list the kings of hell having different specific expertise categories, such as greed and theft. That is actually a legitimate category in those ancient grimoires. I'll burn all your books and the problems they make. Without mentioning what books, we can assume it refers to sacred texts that it so despises. The Bible, you name it. Take it or leave it, but this is the true meaning of the song. You can ask David himself. Now, I posted this on April 5th, 2013, under the pseudonym Mortal on songmeanings.com. So I didn't create this after Bowie's death. I'm making this video based on this post I made, this interpretation analysis I made back on April 5th, 2013. But to prove it's me, I gave a response. There's one reply. If you click the reply button, it says, "Mortal is my alias. I'm better known as John Rasmus." And I posted that as Mortal to prove I'm mortal. That's just an alias I used because I wanted to be anonymous at the time, but I no longer wish or care to be anonymous. And this is my analysis on the song. Very out there, but if you have read enough occult books, you know the language of negative entities, you know the language of demons. They speak exactly like this. So there it is. That's my take. It's a very controversial take for people that don't believe demons exist. People might even say I'm anti-Bowie and trying to bash Bowie. First of all, I personally believe Bowie has ascended to a higher dimension, and in no way, shape, or form do I judge whether he's going here or here. I think when everyone dies, they go to a higher dimension, and they are at a greater sense of peace than they were in this mortal world. If I wasn't a huge David Bowie fan, I wouldn't have posted 4 David Bowie videos before he died, immediately before he died, and I wouldn't have purchased the most expensive version of The Next Day. This is a very expensive vinyl. I'm lucky to have gotten it. But I'm going to continue to collect David Bowie albums. Huge fan. I like to collect the rarest ones. But I'm always going to be a huge fan of David Bowie. This is simply a occult breakdown of the lyrics. People say Bowie was this or that, here or there. It's not for me to judge. I'm only judging the lyrics based on them sounding very demonic. After reading many occult books, you get a gist for the language of how demons talk. On top of that, I may or may not have had a personal first-hand experience with a demon myself and know how they talk. I've read books from people who dedicated their lives to communicating with entities similar to Crowley, and when they contact them, the language is very bizarre. It's very poetic. Sometimes they speak like Yoda. The sentence is a little bit out of order. Their perspective on humans, if they're being totally honest, is usually extremely negative. They talk down to humans. And whenever the demon speaks, in the lyrics of this song, it talks down to humans to a great extent. I would be surprised if Bowie ever knew this was demonic inspired. Bowie was not a fan of Aleister Crowley, so I seriously doubt he was inspired by the Book of the Law. He might have been inspired by a different book, occult book here or there, but I think he was just a demon on his shoulder whispering some words. He liked the gist of those words, and he wrote them down, and he combined them with totally unrelated words, which is something he already did on a regular basis. Bowie was a genius lyricist, orchestrator of a song. He could create a perfect bridge, a perfect chorus, nail it, make it sound amazing. And this song, even though it's demonic, I have to admit it's catchy. It's It's a very good song from the perspective of it sounds good. But when you break down the lyrics, it's pretty freaky. Do with that what you will. I'm not pointing any fingers or making any judgments. I'm just saying I've read many occult books of demons speaking, and they sound exactly like a good portion of the lyrics from this song. I'm going to continue to research, and I thank you for watching. This has been John Rasmus with Occult Unmasked. Be seeing you.